All right, everybody. Alvin here, on the road again, as usual. Headed to the coast for a few days. Thought I would answer a question that I get a lot, all the time. Not even really a question. Questions usually have an answer, and I don't know if this has an answer, but I get a lot of people asking me how can they get into guiding, being a fly fishing guide specifically, but it probably applies to, hunting guides, conventional tackle guides, basically being a guide, being somebody who gets paid to take somebody else out to fish or hunt. I thought I would start by just kind of telling my story, how I got into it. And it's been sort of a long, drawn-out process. I think one advantage some of the people who are asking me how to get into it may have over me was I never really thought about getting into it. It just sort of happened. And I think now, probably a lot easier to get into it, just going into it with the mindset of, hey, this is something I want to do. What are the steps to take to make it happen? So, how'd I get into it? I'm going to start at the beginning and see how far we get. Don't want this video to last too long, so may most likely end up breaking it into multiple videos. If you guys have questions, definitely ask me questions, and hopefully that way I can create more content that hopefully makes the path a little bit easier, because I think it's a great thing to do. I think it's a great job. It's a fun job. It's a hard job. It's not an easy job, but most things that are as cool as guiding are not easy, and it is something that I think I get a lot of satisfaction from, and I think it's a really good thing to share my excitement for the sport with as many people as I can, because all those people hopefully are going to be concerned and have a motivation to help take care of the places that we like to hunt and fish for me mostly. So yeah, trying to expose as many people as possible to the sport of fly fishing. I think that's good for fly fishing. So here we go. Got my start with the fly rod at 12 years old. I'd been fishing ever since I could remember, but I tell this story a lot. I read about fly fishing in a book at school, and I told my parents I wanted a fly rod for my 12th birthday. Somehow or another, in Houston, Texas, they found me a fly rod. I taught myself how to cast, I taught myself how to tie flies, and I actually caught fish. I caught fish, freshwater fish. I caught bass in ponds and the bayous in Houston. I actually even caught fish in the salt. Galveston Bay, Trinity Bay, some of the places that we fished, with my dad, my uncles, my cousins, my grandparents, growing up. Threw that fly rod for years and years. Finally moved to Austin and started hanging out at the Austin Anglers. That's where my fly fishing career sort of took off. Still, it was years before I was actually being paid to do what I do now, but that's kind of where I got the most exposure to the sport. The guys that worked at the Angler were great, hung out there. They taught me a lot. I didn't have much money. They made it really easy for me to have access to gear, have access to knowledge more than anything else. And just that exposure to the knowledge that those guys had at that shop really kind of spurred my career, spurred my interest in the sport on. And that's part of the reason why I'm doing this right now. I want to share that knowledge. I want to give back. I want to do what those guys did for me, you know, obviously in a technological form, a video on the internet that I'm filming while I'm driving in my car, something that was not possible when I was going in and hanging out at the Angler. But I think that's something that makes technology really great, is the ability to be able to do this, to share this, to make this content while I'm in the car for hours. Otherwise, wasted time, right? Anyway, I digress. So, learned a lot from the guys at the Angler, and just over the years, really kind of stepped up my game, caught a lot of fish, traveled a lot, spent a lot of time. I think that's an important thing for people to do, and I think it's something that's gotten a lot easier now, is to just find people who have the passion, find people who have the knowledge, and just go and hang out with them. If you can't physically hang out with people, you know, if you don't have a local fly shop or a fly fishing club or just a group of folks that like to fly fish that you can get in contact with locally, there's always the internet, man. Just reach out to people. You know, you can DM people. That's the whole reason I'm doing this right now, is because people have been DMing me, texting me, saying, hey, how do I get into this? How do I become a guide? So yeah, use the technology to your advantage. There's everything you would ever want to know about anything is out there. So do a little research, get on the internet, start reaching out to people. I get a lot of messages. I try to respond to all the messages I get. Sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I'm not. Rest assured, if you sent me a message, I read it, and I'm thinking about you. Hopefully this video and the ones I'm gonna make after this will answer some of your questions, and feel free, reach out. Let me know what you want to know, and hope you guys are doing great out there. Guys and gals too are doing great, and I'll talk to you next time.